Adam and Eve, as told by Suddi. The story of Adam and Eve was asked.
The story of the creation of man and woman, yet made from the clay of the earth when it was new, was Adam. And when God found that Adam was lonely and needed the other part of him, it is said that his rib was taken out. Though I cannot see this, man has as many as women. But, anyway, his rib was taken out, and a woman was made to be his soulmate, the other half of him. The woman who is the ultimate mate is part of you and a part of a whole. The name of the Garden of Eden was named Paradise, for Suddi had never heard of the Garden of Eden. According to the legend, they were cast out for trying to take from God what God wished to keep to himself, which was the knowledge of shame. They ate from the tree of knowledge, which was very curious. Why would you wish for knowledge if you had the choice of life and you had the choice of knowledge? How many would not choose everlasting life? There were two trees. There was one of the tree of knowledge and one of the tree of life. Therefore, why did they say that they ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge? Would not most wish to live forever? This is very curious to me. I would rather be perhaps a little unwiser. If you live forever, you have a much greater chance of gaining wisdom in that length of time. The correct word for Suddi to have used would be the word unwise instead of unwiser. The question was asked what the trees looked like. They were one of a type, and they were giant in size. I have heard that they were made of pomegranates, but this is, again, a legend.
It is said that the serpent tempted the woman.
And in being tempted, when she succumbed to this, it was part of, according to legend, why women must suffer during childbirth.
I do not believe this, for women do not have to suffer. This was something that men have added to this story, I think. Why should the bringing of life into the world bring suffering? Of course, they do not have to suffer. There are many ways of bringing a child into this world without giving the mother pain. You would learn the cleansing and the calming breath and draw the focus away from too much of what your body is doing as far as keeping the movements going. And you would focus instead on what is very nice and calming to you. And the calmer the body is, the easier it is for the child to be delivered, sounding very similar to the modern Lamaze methods.
There are women who are told how to do this, and of course there are other women, and usually the mate is there with them. But I have not attended a childbearing.
The question was asked if the serpent was a real snake.
Some people say that it was one of the beings of light who had fallen. He entered his spirit into the serpent. There are many legends about this, but I do not believe in this. I believe that man created his own downfall through his acquisition of greed and lust. The more you have, the more you want. And man created his own fall from the paradise that was. It is easier to say that the serpent tempted you than to admit that that serpent is part of yourself that is lower.
The question was then asked what happened when they ate the fruit.
It is said that they were cast out of paradise, and they realized that they had to clothe, and this brought shame into the world. And since then they have been trying to cover themselves up ever since. To have shame in the body when this is your temple is not a good thing. This is what God gave you to spend your life in. You must treat it well and treat it so that it will last you a lifetime. And to be ashamed of what is a God-given gift is a great sin. The comment on the body as a temple is where Jesus comments on the body being a temple in the New Testament. The Essenes covered their bodies with clothes, but they did not hide.
When we are children, there is a freedom of going about as the day you were born. It is acceptable. It is not shameful to have an openness about your body. You do not run and hide for cover for someone to see you without your clothes.
Suddi acknowledged that some communities frown on kids running around naked, and he then said,
And they are usually the ones that have the most trouble.
This is why there was mixed naked bathing in Qumran. It was an accepted thing. Suddi hadn't heard of the name Lucifer, even though he had mentioned fallen angels earlier. Channeling sessions do reveal that there's a negatively oriented Luciferian complex in the lore of one book. Suddi, however, knew of Archangel Michael, though.
I know of Michael. It is said that Michael is at the right hand of God. He is one of the beings that never came here. He has always been with God, for he did not venture away. And therefore, he is as perfect now as on the day of creation. And he is like a messenger for God. If he wishes to speak to someone, perhaps not quite so directly, God will sometimes send Michael or Gabriel.
This confirms my channeling session about Archangel Gabriel warning Noah about a coming flood from the negative beings and to build the ark. He speaks to people, thought to thought, also known as telepathy. Some do see them if needed.
There are those who need to. But it is not always a need to know in all who would hear him. He would appear to you or me differently. He would appear perhaps as something clothed in golden light, or perhaps just a sunbeam disclosed, or perhaps as a young man, or even an old. It is all in how you view him and how you need to have this image of him. It could also be others. There are many who have not come yet. There are many who have not decided that this is what they wish to do, that they sit back and watch.
The story of Adam and Eve was said to have giants in the world in those days.
So it has been told. According to the stories that have been handed down, Adam was just what God decided man should look like in the final choice. That there were many, many ones who came before who were not perfect, and therefore changed. And in the times before there were many things that are not now, so it is very possible